Welcome to day 76 of the Sacred Pause. I'd like to thank you all for all your incredible contributions on the WhatsApp forum over the last few days and weeks. We truly have a global community and a support network for each other, and it's so beautiful to see it evolve. Today I am going unscripted again, which seems to be the way. But I wanted to start with a poem that I wrote, which talks about our mental health. It's called If Only. If only I could show you the depth of loneliness and pain as my darkness closes in. If only you could hear the incessant shrill of all the voices from my sorrows deep within. If only you could feel the shadows ripping through my heart, the darkness spreading through my veins. If only you could understand why in that terrifying moment there's just one way to end the pain. Now, I wrote that poem a few months ago just to help raise awareness about mental health, because many people misunderstand what people are going through when they attempt suicide. And I'm not trying to depress you, I just want to speak the truth here, because quite frankly, the Sacred Pause wouldn't exist if a friend of mine hadn't taken his life in the first week of lockdown. Now, his name was Manu, and he was a beautiful soul, and on the outside, his life was perfect. He had a family, 2 beautiful children, a great job, and he was in his early 40s, and, well, I think a lot of people, a lot of our friends couldn't understand, well, firstly, why he did it, but secondly, if he was feeling so low, then why he hadn't shared it with us. And it provoked me to firstly write a message on Facebook just saying, is anyone out there feeling low? Because if you are, just please call me, contact me, even if I don't know you that well. I'm here. I just want you to know that if there's someone you need to talk to, someone you need to share this darkness with, open up to, then I'm here. And that combined with a message I received from Dana, who is one of our sponsors, who also said you've got to do something during this period. Well, at least one positive thing has come out of his passing. But in all honesty, I'd love to have him back in my life, and I'm sure his family would too, especially his children. And he's not the only one. There are so many people out there struggling right now. Before lockdown, it's not even something necessarily that has been provoked by this pause in our lives. It's been around for a long time, and I think it stems from the way our culture is, the way society is now, how everything seems to have speeded up, how a lot of things come in small sound bites, and a lot of people really struggle to talk about their emotions, to talk about their sadness, their darkness. This poem was actually inspired by another friend of mine who has tried to take his life 5 times in the last 17 years. And originally, I didn't understand. I didn't understand what was going on in his head. Originally, I thought it was alcohol related and it was trauma related. And I made the very naive assumption that by trying to put it in perspective, his life compared to the life of other people in Africa who had nothing, who are living a life of poverty, I made the very naive mistake of thinking that I could pitch that to him and it would make him feel better. And that was foolish of me because, well, I think mental health is still beginning to be understood slowly by the world, but at that point it was very different and it was managed very differently to if we have a physical trauma or if we have something physically wrong with our bodies. Because people could see that visibly. You've got a cut, so, oh, yep, you're injured, you need to be treated. You've broken your leg, you need to have a plaster cast. Visually, it's very easy to understand the physical trauma, but a mental one, well, it's very complex. Adrian has had 5 different types of treatment after his 5 suicide attempts. And sadly, none of those have really looked at shamanism or New Age medicine, because in Switzerland it's still not accepted. It's still seen as something diverse that can't be funded by health insurance. And still, it often treats the symptoms rather than going to the very root of the problem. And it makes me wonder, in this world, how blind we can be sometimes. I'm not saying that we have the answer or I'd be able to help him with my shamanic stuff. I don't want to push it on anyone. I don't see that that's my role. I want to help him, and I do that by speaking to him. And he knows what I do. And he knows that when he's ready, he will come to me. But I think it's one of the hardest things in life to see someone we love going through this horrendous time where clearly he's clinically depressed. Some say bipolar, but these are just names, you know. The truth is he's out of balance. And yeah, I think one of the hardest things in my life has been sitting on that seesaw with him, watching him suffer, desperately wanting to help, but knowing deep in my soul that I'm probably meant to let go because it's his life and it's his decision, and I certainly don't have the right to force anything upon him. But right now, after his 5th suicide attempt, which happened just a few weeks ago, they're now giving him electric shock sensor healing, and it just makes me wonder. It really does. On a wider scale, there is suffering everywhere we look. Not just in the working classes, not just in people with poverty, but actually far further up the so-called social ladder. I think there's more suffering there than there is anywhere. People who supposedly live these dream lives of happiness, but in truth, they're covering up many gaps. They're hiding their darkness. And often it's these people who do take their own lives because they think they should be happy. So why do we become suicidal? Why are so many people out there struggling? Well, I believe as the soul doctors of the earth that it's our responsibility to be there when people ask to help, to be that bridge to healing, that bridge to eternity. And I think right now, there's a lot of people who are waking up. But as they wake up, comes even more confusion because they never quite know which path to take. I know when I embarked on our spiritual journey, well, I didn't really know what was real and what wasn't at the beginning, and I was very confused about whether I was being lured into some crazy cult. I was very confused about my physical manifestations, the things I was feeling, even on a physical level. I could feel spirits touching me. I could see lights in the darkness. And while these were reassuring, yes, there's something else there, but I when you don't know what it is, it can be confusing. But I think right now the door is being really opened. Not just between us and spirit, but also between us and the more unconscious world. Because a lot of people are starting to wonder if this sacred pause arrived for a great reason, for a much bigger reason than the small details of our lives and our jobs and social media. But in terms of suicide, if you've got people in your life who are on the edge, who are struggling, or even if you're struggling yourself, I think the best thing you could possibly do is to have faith in something bigger, to listen to your soul, to become a witness of your life when you're feeling so attached to everything, to your body, to your job, or perhaps you've just been detached from your job or something important to you in your life. Maybe it's a divorce, maybe you've lost someone close to you, and you think, well, what's the point? I think it's in those moments that we get an opportunity to take a step back, distance ourselves from that horrible fog you get when you can't think clearly, to take 3 deep breaths, and just to trust, and not to be scared to ask for help, not to be scared to ask for human help, not to be scared to ask for help from spirit, because it's in moments like that that spirit can help you so much. I think in our lives, when we really become present, when we really stop thinking about the past, mulling over all the crap that's come through in our lives, which is gone, it's gone like the wake of a boat. When we stop living in the future, thinking what we should be, dreaming of being famous, building expectation, which really doesn't need to be built. When we truly live in the present, life becomes so real. And yes, our heart may break over and over again, and that might be through different things, different disappointments, different realities. But you know what? Life is so beautiful. Because spirit always will open our eyes to the beauty. And I've spoken before about how I felt after I had an illumination. When I watched the bee landing on the flower, I smelt the flower. But I wasn't just me, I was that witness to all this absolute perfection. I'd argue that that was the greatest moment of my life. Alongside my daughter being born, alongside, fallen in love. And literally, it was so simple because all the layers had been peeled back in that moment. Everything had stopped. I'd slowed down. I'd worked on myself. I'd faced so much darkness over the 4 weeks before that. And I'm not saying I'm a hero. I'm not saying I'm a genius because I went into that moment. Because actually, I did nothing. I did nothing. Oh my goodness, what I would give to show my friend who took his life that beauty. I'm sure he's been shown it up in heaven. But if only I'd been able to show him that it exists on earth too. Because earth is heaven. And I think I might just send this recording to Adrian, who's my friend who's tried to take his life 5 times. Because love, faith, beauty has no complexity. It's so simple. So find a place in yourself that is present. Quiet down your mind. Breathe slowly. And remember what is. Because even the people that we would call almost saintly, even these people have gone through tough times. I believe the making of saints and great people is a tough, tough journey because they have to see the contrast between that great darkness and the perfection. Mother Teresa, in some of her letters, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to read her memoirs, but some of her letters, she talks about having a feeling of being suicidal. You know, she said, depression surrounds me on all sides. I can't lift my soul to God. No light or inspiration enters my soul right now. Heaven, what emptiness. Not a single thought of heaven enters my mind. The place of God in my soul is blank. And this is Mother Teresa, who no doubt will become a saint if she's not already. Because no person is perfect or an Olympian. They have to go on a journey. And Mother Teresa needed to go to this point, this very low point in her life, to then see the beauty of life. And how many people did she heal? And how many people does she continue to heal? It's her legacy of life. Likewise, Gandhi. He said that life became livable only to the extent that death started to be treated as a friend of mine and not as an enemy. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. And he famously said, if I had no sense of humour, I would have committed suicide long ago. So these great masters, these saints, they're telling us, have a sense of humour. Don't take life too seriously. It isn't easy, but you can wear a smile throughout life. But you need to deal with the darkness, like understand death and understand those parts of your mind and those voices in your head, that they're not real. They're very often your serpent mind, your ego. And a few years after Mother Teresa wrote that memoir, when she started to see the light again and feel like heaven truly was a place on earth, she said, I am a little pencil in God's hands. You see, He does the thinking. He does the writing. He does everything. And sometimes it's really hard because it's a broken pencil. But when I ask for help, God will sharpen it. And when He sharpens it, that pencil is love. So what I wanted to say was, try not to take life too seriously, but have faith that there is always somebody walking beside you. Live from love. Never take a stance where your life arises from fear. When your faith is strong, we live a life of ecstasy. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Your life is your message. Tonight, Mary Curtis will be providing a meditation for us. Thank you, Mary. And I'd like to put planet Earth, Pachamama, into the healing pot. Everything, every tree, every river, every sea, every ocean. And I'd also like to put in the pot anyone right now who has a friend or who has ever had any feelings of suicide, that it's not worth living anymore. These people need our help. And there are many of them around the world. Please send great healing to them. And please add anyone to the healing pot who is mentioned on the WhatsApp forum before you do tonight's meditation. And remember to open and close sacred space. Thank you. The revolution has begun. Let's evolve with honor and compassion. Yours in peace and love, Peter.